This is the Ponderous Brick Thinker with a castle update. And the update is more sketches to figure out what this castle is going to look like. Before getting into the sketches, I made this rough staircase just so that I can see for myself how much room is needed for a 6 brick tall level of stairs to get up. It is quite a lot, and if going back to the old days where a tower was basically a enclosed staircase, then that's what this tower is going to be. But unfortunately, it's not like a high-rise where you have your vertical transportation, either elevator or staircase, and then you have room for offices or apartments. This one is going to be very tight, so I could either make it narrow, adjust the stair height a bit so that it doesn't take so much room, or embrace it. So there's several opportunities on how to go about it, but I don't have to commit right now, and I can still incorporate stairs in a fun way for at least for the Tower of Fun. The other towers, they might be more difficult just because they're not the fun tower. But again, vertical circulation to try and make it more approaching realistic or viable to live in, because I did take care to put stairs along the path to reach this level. I do want to honor that tradition and put it in within the architecture itself. So much to think about. Now, the first area I want to explore is this corner. In order to figure out this corner, I am going to need to use colors other than the browns, just because of limit availability, but also it could be a chance to explore some color combinations. So, obvious part in terms of creating the corner, I'm going to follow these existing vertical lines and suggest that they're extended much higher. I probably do want to keep something there. I do have inverted 2x3 slopes. Could actually make it a little too extended, but let's see how that looks. And so that the column can be there. I think it extends it a little too much, especially considering that the first architecture needs to be a little bit more reserved. That creates an interesting looking ledge. That's just an interesting look of the different ways of using the slopes. It is getting there. I like the progression. This plate, the tan plate, does extend it too far much. I think inverted 2x2 slope might be the best way to go in order to keep the what is called, like, it's a momentum of the line just coming up and then just continuing upward. Considering that the 2x2 inverted was used lower in the build. Let's see how that looks. And the other thing, it's a ruin. I like that better. What it is odd is this abrupt angle here, so I'm wondering if I should go back and put this 2x2 inverted right there. Let's see, if I just put it there, how does that look? That still works, surprisingly. So kind of going an upward look. So I like this line, how it looks in terms of there's this amount and then it gets larger here. The other question is, so that's 6 actually. One less. I think it should go higher, or at least another level. And another 6 there. For right now, I'm just kind of seeing this silhouette to see if it's going to be a problem or if it's just too big or too, I wouldn't say too small. Let me see how this looks. 3 and another 3. This one here, I wonder if it's hinting to me that the first architecture roof is stepped rather than sloped, and let the newer construction be sloped, and use the slope one, so it looks a little bit more streamlined. But that's just a thought right now, and I think this is like how I come across ideas. So, oh, that looks interesting. Then see if I can develop it more. But yes, I think it should be 2 levels. And it should also connect to the central tower. How? Let's see. Because I have this here as a grid. Let me see if I can find a common midpoint. See, that's how it looks without that pole there. So I created this sketch of a structure. It follows nicely with the arches here, but it is not following the circulation pattern. But maybe with just readjustment here and there. But I think I'll alter it. One of the things that it's lacking is that it doesn't address this part right here on both sides. So if I make this part more of the tower, then this right here will appear as emerging from that tower, which could be interesting. So that'll be the next step, but this is always possible as a fallback. So here are the temporary walls, the arches kind of outlining where entry and exit are. It might still work. It won't follow a grid, but it still might work. So this sketch informs me that the ceiling needs to be at least this high, considering that you need that much height to go through the next level. And notice how it's touching this wall here of the tower. If I move this arch in that direction, I'll be able to make a little bit more of an opening, maybe put a balcony here overlooking this interior space. So that, again, that's part of the original architecture, and let's see if it continues with the newer one. So I move the arches a bit. It does make, I still have this diagonal of this kind of protruding mass, but I think that will work. If I move this and I dedicate this corner to be the balcony, could be interesting. The only part will be to imagine what the rest of the building looks like. And I think that will work. For now. The other part is determining how much detail to leave for the ruins and then go from there. So for now I'm going to leave it here and see if there's time later in the week to readdress this. But now I think I could go to the other part or to the other goal and start working there. The next area to focus on is what will be the entrance to the Tower of Fun. I rotated the base, so this bridge half meets this bridge half. So if there's a fortification here back in the day, a bridge, then maybe there should be some fortification here before entering the tower. And I'm not like the Tower of Fun is going to be the entire base, but the first tower would have been here, some attachment here in the corner. So maybe this is just going to be the gateway, something to just limit access to the tower. So for that part, I'm thinking of using the black, grays, and white bricks with smooth edges to be the carved out area of the mountain, so that the first architect kind of just goes like this and kind of leading into the stairway over there. And this was just a thought, so this is probably going to be removed where the browns are kind of just covering that part, but it can start there and be in that direction. So that part of the architecture is carved out of the mountain, and I think this would be the best place to do it because there is such height that it makes sense that there might have been more rock that they could have carved out of, and you can make it secure. But it should be fun to kind of mix the colors and the architecture at this point, and I'll see how well I can do it because I do have the base curve for the black, but not the bow that comes up across. I have this size for the white, but I have this for the curving that way, and I have dark gray of that kind, but I must have forgotten to get the light gray bucket because I can't find any of them. So this is still going to be a sketch. I'm probably want to see what I have for the lighter gray, just so that it is mixed into it as I have the other rock features, kind of combining the colors here and there. Oh, I also have this for black, so that can be helpful. But I really thought I had more bows to work with, but we'll see how it goes. So it's going to be more or less putting these where they can be a most of effect, but we'll see how it goes. Here's the start of the idea. I like how this is layered. It has the look of it's coming up, and I really did want to find some arches or the bows like this. This would have helped a lot, but I'll have to check if they're in my apartment, and I'll have to look high and low. These are some of the largest arches I have, yet for this area they seem too small for the occasion. So it could be a combination. I'm still kind of thinking of the best approach. Ultimately, it is going to be in ruins, but it would be nice to have a large suggestion of what the gate used to be and not just have it here, but just have it a little bit continuous. Even though if I have a few arches, I can just do it on this side and just suggest that there was something over here to catch the arch. The other thing you might have noticed that it's rather narrow right here. These bricks are just to remind me that there's going to be a wall to support this here, but it's very narrow. So the other thought is to carve this wall as well so that it's almost as wide where the white is, and it will be a little bit wider and makes a little bit more sense. But I think that will be the best approach, and that way it could also suggest that there used to be a major architectural feature here even though all the suggestion is only on this side, and on this side it might have collapsed or eroded away, and so that the new Tower of Fun corner is going to be the new architecture and kind of meet up to this half. So that's the hopeful outlook. I am going to make a trip to my apartment to see if I can find any of the grays or the pieces that I might need. But for now, I'm going to leave it and continue thinking about it to see if there are other ways to make a grandiose archway. So for now, I'm going to go into the Tower of Understanding, work a bit, make a trip to my apartment, and see if I can find the pieces that I can't find here. I rotated the bases so that I can work on the Tower of Understanding. This is just to reorient the viewer. So here's the before. As you can see, there's a gap. I have this square base to work on or work with, but I can't see it expanding a little bit beyond that. Not too much, but I think I see potential. The first being to fill that gap with the black, grays, and white bricks so that there's another peak coming up. And maybe, as I have done with the arch, it was carved out to be part of the tower here, or the original construction, and some of it might have remained for the current tower. So I'm going to start there, and then just put, as I have done here, just temporary bricks to remind myself, give me something to look at and think about to see if I want to expand or how to change it in the later iterations. So in the time between now and when I was creating the bases, I did procure more 2x4 3 brick high window frames so that I can easily go up to the height that I need without wasting any of the bricks. So I have placed them here and I arranged them so that they can be easily removed without conflict. So that's it. So that's the first step. And then for now, I'm going to be just putting some stacks of bricks to help sell the idea that there's going to be some rocks coming forth. Actually, oops, sorry, Shui. See if I can do that. It's going to be jagged yet carved. We'll see how that goes. But that's going to suggest that this part is only the beginning and there was more here, that it was carved to be part of the architecture. So that's the first step. And it is going to go beyond the square a bit, but that's fine. And this is going to move with the base, so it can be part of the permanent. We'll see, because it is determined as to what's going to help hold the tower in place when it's resting and also guide it down, but also what's going to be taken away so that it can be protected and not have to be balanced on this base. So it is, for right now, temporary, and it's just going to help me visualize, yep, there's going to be rocks here. In addition, I'm looking at this and I'm glad this was here. I forgot about it when I was working on the other parts, that to make a wall appear more massive, there's going to be some elements that need to pop away from the wall. And so now I think, well, maybe not that one, but something to suggest that there's more weight to it. By creating a bigger corner, I'm going to have to get more of the different kinds of bricks, just to sell the idea that this is a heavier construction and that this corner can be massive, and I'm thinking this corner can do it as well, so that when you first see it, you see this, and then, okay, maybe my goal is to have a little bit more delicate structure for the rest of the tower, or for the current architecture, but that's still a little bit forthcoming. Let me see how I can make this a convincing corner of the original architecture that kind of inspired the rest of the other first architectures. So for this area, before there was the Tower of Understanding, the building here, I wanted to emphasize the heaviness of the brown material. So I'm thinking the wall should be thick. But also, I wanted to be a little bit challenging and say it's going to be thick and detailed. So I have an idea on how to accomplish that. I'm going to do a sketch like I have done other places, use this as reference, and let's see how it goes. As you can see, I placed the arches on the floor, and that is to help me subdivide the wall into the arches to see how they can fit together and maybe look nice. So the idea is the height of this wall is going to be 6 bricks high, kind of the standard, and the Tower of Understanding floors are going to be 8. So there is that difference, still playing with that idea of the new on top of the old. But again, this is also ruins, so it's going to be a mix. The other unknown is the vertical circulation. It is a small interior space, so it's not going to be ideal to have stairs there. So maybe I introduce a ladder, which can, it can also work. So this is in the process of deciding of what the original architecture was. Now comes the part where I put in other bricks so that I can raise these arches up to a suitable height. But as you can see, by using the rounded bricks, this can provide a lot of detail and just make it look more delicate and yet also thick. So let's see how that goes. So how does this look like for a thick wall but delicate? To me, it does not read well that it's a single wall, but rather layers, which is a nice effect. But I think in order for it to be seen as a singular wall, there should be the sharing of color so that it's just not nougat or brown or tan, but each layer has a little bit of the same color so that it can read that there's something continuous about it. But I think it's an interesting approach. The other thing is, because it's such a thick wall, there's some gaps that I did not expect, but there they are. And one of the things is, so I have this, which fits perfectly there. The only problem is I don't think even in brown I have this kind of shape. So it will have to be a different one. But it will also have to be for the original architecture, so definitely not this color. But I do have 2x2 round bricks in brown, so they can fit there, just to kind of, cover it. And then this is how it looks like with a 2x2 brick. In either case, keeping this idea, the corner is very visible, so it has to be a brick that is meant to be seen. So you can tell I did not put any thought into the door. This is still a sketch. I can always clear out this area to make the door. But I think it does give me something to think about, especially the way the colors are, segmented. I did have it that way when I made it the first example, but I think that worked because they were physically touching each other and making a cohesive wall. This one is just different layers that are stacked, and that's why you get that effect. So maybe in the next iteration I start mixing the colors, making more choices. Okay, so you can see how there's no straight view outward, only through the corner, but that's going to be filled, so it's only through the gap. So much to think about. So I did find the gray bricks, but I did not have the arches. So I have plenty to think about. I've made suitable progress. considering that I'm still figuring out what the castle is going to look like. But I think this is a good starting point. It does give me, ideas what to change, what to keep. But in the next episode, I am going to do some more sketches, but also development of the current one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 locations to think about. So that will be the next episode. It will be just a little bit of tinkering with each space and see if I can make more decisions as to what the style is going to be. And the idea is to keep everything fluid. So touching again with what I have built and see if I can develop it further, get ideas from here and there, and see how they kind of mesh together. So this has been the Ponderous Brick Thinker. Thank you for stopping by. If you liked the episode, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see how this project progresses, go ahead and subscribe and sign up for notifications. And see you next time.